Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel. If you're new here, please subscribe. I'd really love that. If you're returning, how you doing? Got a question for you. Got meat? Me either. So listen, meat is always on the menu in many parts of the world, as we can see when we map out meat consumption by country. So how do countries differ in how much and what type of meat that they eat? I have a map that I'm going to show you, and then I am breaking it down by different countries and which type of meat that they eat, okay? And I'm going to show that to you. So each color on this map that I'm going to show you denotes a different category of meat, going by beef, pork, mutton, poultry, seafood, or other, okay? And this is with an annual consumption calculator per capita in kilogram. So since meat is normally defined as the flesh of any animal, with the primary components being water, fat, and protein, and that includes fish and other seafood as well. But whether fish is considered meat or not depends on a cultural practice and dietary preference, and has varied throughout history. Some earlier definitions of meat focus on only mammals. For example, in Christianity, for example, many denominations allow eating fish on fasting days when abstaining from meat. And this was both due to distinctions between meat from warm-blooded animals and cold-blooded animals like fish, as well as the importance of fish consumption in parts of Europe where Christianity flourished. So, to account for both sides of the debate, I'm going to cover meat consumption by country, both with and without fish as seafood. Okay, so now I'm going to put up the map for you, okay, and how it's broken down by country and what meat is most popular. Okay, here you go. So when you looked at those, okay, first and foremost, poultry. That stands out as the most popular meat by weight consumption in 70 countries. Other meat include less frequently farmed animals like rabbit, horse, and camel, as well as game, or meat from wild animals. Fish and seafood rank as the second most popular consumed meat in 56 countries, most of them with significant coastlines. The world's largest consumers of meat per capita, Hong Kong, Iceland, and Macau, and that's MACAO. They have the highest total meat consumption, all above 370 pounds per capita. So while the US and China eat the most chicken by absolute numbers, the countries rank 7th and 112th respectively when it comes to poultry consumption on a per capita basis. Several nations, like island nations, St. Vincent, the Grenadines, Trinidad, Tobago, Samoa, along with Israel, they eat more than 60 kilograms of poultry meat, which is about 15 large birds per person on an annual basis. Regionally, poultry consumption can be seen spanning almost all of the Americas, as well as the UK and former British colonies, Australia, South Africa, and the Middle East as well. So despite eating more seafood and more poultry, Hong Kong leads the world in pork consumption per capita annually at about 121 pounds. And this is almost equivalent to the average amount of retail pork harvested from a single 250-pound pig. Poland and Spain, who are also top pork producers, they rank close to right behind Hong Kong with similar pork consumption numbers. Now, indeed, we can see pork as the most consumed meat in many European countries, with local histories of pork foods like, and also as well as few countries like Africa, including Burkina Faso, and one Southeast Asian country, I don't know if I'm saying this correctly, Timor. It's Timor, Leste, Leste. So in the middle of the North Atlantic Ocean, Iceland eats the most fish and seafood in the world at a staggering 200 pounds per person per year. And that also gives Iceland the crown for the highest per capita consumption of any single type of meat. Now, behind Iceland are other island and high coastline nations, including the Maldives, Hong Kong, Macau, and Portugal. Regionally, you can see the importance of seafood reflected in East and South Asia, the Atlantic coastlines of Africa, and the Nordic countries in Europe. Argentina, 46 million strong population, eats nearly 103 pounds of bovine meat per year per person, the most by any country in the UN's database. The South American country has a rich culinary history with beef, as cattle brought by Spanish settlers flourished on the grassy plains of the region. Such is cattle's importance in the continent that the gaucho, a horseman engaged in cattle work, is a folk symbol in Argentina, Uruguay, and parts of Brazil, which rank 5th in the beef consumption. The map of beef consumption highlights Central Asian countries, including Uzbekistan, and Eastern African countries, including Ethiopia. The people of Mongolia are unrivaled in their consumption of mutton and goat meat, devouring an impressive 145 pounds per capita annually. And this voracious appetite for meat is deeply rooted in their heritage as a nation of skilled shepherds. Now, New Guinea, meanwhile, tops the other meat consumption rankings, and the country is the largest producer of game meat in the world due to its mostly rural and indigenous population relying on hunting. One 2023 study found that a sample of villages in the country primarily hunted wild deer, boar for meat, although marsupials like bandicoots, tree kangaroos, and couscous were occasionally hunted and consumed as well. Okay, so, and yes, couscous, it sounds the same as the Israeli couscous. Okay, it sounds the same as, so I don't want you to think she's saying it wrong. No, it sounds the same as saying couscous. Okay, so my gosh, so Mongolia also ranks highly in consumption of other meats per capita, like due to their traditional consumption of horse meat. I know, but it's true. So their country produced just over 100,000 tons of horse meat in 2020, 1/6 of the country's total meat production that year. So what happens to each country's meat consumption habits if we remove fish and seafood from that data? Well, the map and the rankings, they change quite a bit, right? Most of the blue on the map is replaced with a wash of yellow, indicating the global popularity of poultry meat is as cheap and efficient source of protein. However, much of East Asia, including China and European countries like France and Sweden, consume more pork. So the rankings for total meat consumption also shuffle around. Hong Kong remains at the top, but the US jumps up 3 spots to second place, with annual per capita meat consumption at 282 pounds when seafood is not included. So Iceland and Macau drop to the top 15, while Australia, Mongolia, and Argentina climb into the top 5. Other countries that preferred seafood, they drop it lower, such as Japan, which fell 40 spots into the total consumption rankings when fish is removed. It's interesting, isn't it? Yeah. So this is something that I thought you guys would be very interested in, is especially being as though we all prep, and meat is one of the biggest things that we prep because we pressure can it and everything else, and we fill our freezers with it. So I thought you guys might be interested in this. All right, guys, I'm out of here, okay? I will see you in the next one. You stay safe, you stay positive, you keep prepping. And as always, fearless. Ciao.